Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237, coming at you with a really random review. I don't know what made me want to see this. I think it's because I looked on Netflix to see what kind of more recent horror films were on there. Because there's a few that I saw back when they came out that I hated. I was like, well, let's watch it again, and I can review it, probably rant on it, like Cabin in the Woods, which I think used to be on there. That movie would be a rant. But it wasn't. But I saw this movie on there, and I never thought I would review this film. I'm not reviewing the series because I really don't care to see the series. If I had to put, like, the most hated franchise label on something, it would be this. And that, of course, is Paranormal Activity. I'm not a fan of these films or these kinds of films. I will say, I haven't seen all of them. Yes, I do know that they all go together. It all tells one story. Even part 5, which they say is a spin-off, but I guess 4 was just a colossal clusterfuck that they made 5 to kind of fix it and is actually more about the main story than the 4th one is. That's what I've heard. I couldn't care less if that fact is wrong, but I would say this one's the best. And whenever I talk about Paranormal Activity, it seems like that's the thing that people say for why it's good. It's like, well, see, they all tell one story, and it's like, so does Saw. And the funny thing is, a lot of people that really like Paranormal Activity, at least that I talk to, that really love the whole series, dislike the Saw films. Because they say, oh, it's nothing but torture. There's no point to it. There's no story. It's nothing but torture. Well, for me, this is nothing, like nothing happens but, okay, this door is either slowly opening and closing or it slams shut, get flung open. Same thing with blankets, either slowly being pulled off someone or ripped off someone. Something levitating or dropping down, noises. I couldn't care less if it tells one overarching story. But to me, that's what these movies are. Yeah, I haven't seen all of them. I've seen bits and pieces of the sequels. I've seen the trailers to all of them. And to be honest, you could probably make one trailer out of scenes from all of them, and it would look like the same movie. This is the first time I've seen the first one in its entirety. I saw it probably back in 2009, because I was a senior in high school. I remember I went to some house party, and I got there early. A couple of my friends were there. Nothing really started yet. And someone brought this, and I walked in on like the last 15, 20 minutes. But this is the epitome, because when this came out, this is what brought on the onslaught of paranormal films. 1, found footage, absolutely. But 2, just like the typical Blumhouse or, all those films that say from the makers of Paranormal Activity, save for like, The Purge, ones like that, or Get Out. I mean, Sinister, Insidious and The Conjuring, which I like those. That's because they're made by James Wan, a guy that knows how to make horror movies. Like Possession, Ouija, Annabelle. If those don't say from the makers of Paranormal Activity, I don't care. I'm moving on from that. Just all this the freaking onslaught. A haunting in insert state name. And then the found footage ones like Grave Encounters. I hate both of those movies. You know, even possession films like The Last Exorcism, which I didn't like. I never saw the sequel. I don't care to. But I would say it all stems from this. Because this came out the same year as Saw 4, which I really think was when the series started to dip. And torture porn was it had kind of blown up. It wasn't done, but people were kind of getting tired of it. Other than, like, the hardcore genre fans. Of course, I mean, this movie comes out, and on a $15,000 budget, it made $193.4 million. So it was a monstrous hit. Oh, okay. Well, I knew it was Paramount, so I actually forgot it had the stamp of death of Blumhouse. Because to me, that's the kiss of death to all these films, Blumhouse. And it's not to say that it's all from the mind of Jason Blum, but coincidentally, they all are Blumhouse. It's like Angry Video Game Nerd with LJN. Every time I see that logo, I'm just like, oh, fuck, this is not going to be enjoyable. But yeah, Blumhouse had, like, Insidious, Conjuring, Get Out. I think it had It Follows. I could be wrong. I think it had Don't Breathe. It had The Invisible Man, which was an incredible fucking movie. But this is the epitome of what I don't like in modern horror. At least for the found footage end of it. The non-found footage end of it would be like, you know, Sinister or Annabelle. Or Ouija. But it reminded me of, like, Open Water, which came out a couple years before. Because, you know, even on the cover of this, I can't read who wrote it because it's too small. Paranormal Activity is one of the scariest movies of all time. You will be affected as it's hard to ignore the imprint it leaves on your psyche. Nightmares are guaranteed. Hey, that's that person's opinion. If that's how they felt about it, glad they enjoyed it. But, like, with Open Water, it was the greatest shark movie since Jaws, which they all say that. But, you know, really low budget, and what happens? I saw Open Water in theaters, actually, and there's, 2 or 3 scenes with a shark? You don't even see the shark, you just see the fins and their tails. This, though, really not much happens. The premise I like. I say I like the premise because at least that's different with the haunted house genre, especially found footage, where, okay, we have this couple, Katie Featherston and Mika Sloat. And that's their real names, actually. He gets a new camera. I don't remember if it's because they've heard noises or it just coincides with each other, but it doesn't really matter. You don't have to tell me. But either way, he sets up the camera in the bedroom, like so, so he can document any kind of paranormal activity. Okay, I like that idea. But, and yeah, it does start off slow, like, okay, maybe the door does, like, a little bit, or there's some sort of noise, like some knocking or creaking, and it all builds up to literally the final scene. But I do understand the relativity of it being set not only in their own home, but like a sort of modern, newer looking home. Nothing that looks like a spooky house. I get the relativity with that. Like it kind of makes us go, oh, okay, that could be us. That could be our home. But it didn't really work for me. I understand that's why John Carpenter set Halloween in the suburbs. Why Clive Barker likes settings like Chicago or more contemporary settings because it's more relatable and scarier. It just didn't work with this for me personally. And one of my favorite found footage movies, probably my favorite found footage movie, and keep in mind I do not count Cannibal Holocaust because that's sort of half and half. And like when that was released, even though people thought some of that stuff was real, I think they kind of knew the other half was like a movie. But like start to finish, with the whole illusion of being real, my favorite is still Blair Witch Project. And people want to talk about that movie not having anything happening. But that movie has atmosphere, tension. The woods are much scarier. It goes with the Jaws concept, and I'll even say Jaws, because that's what made the idea of what you don't see is scarier. I just don't think it worked with this film. The characters, do I buy they're a couple? Sure. Well, was their acting the problem? No, not really. But I found the boyfriend to be sort of either unlikable or just unbelievable. Because, one, he is obsessed with filming because he wants to catch everything. And this is one of those cases where it's just like, okay, why are you filming? Why do you have to catch everything? Especially where a good chunk of the film is her starting by giving him shit to literally screaming at him to stop with the camera. And then also the part where, things seem to be at their worst. Well, okay, there's even a part where she makes him promise because she said, no Ouija boards, stop with the camera. If it gets worse, I don't want to piss it off, so no more camera. It keeps going. He gets the Ouija board. She gets really pissed at him. We see it catches on fire, leaves some sort of whatever on it. She forgives him, but makes him promise on camera that, won't do any more of this, won't do any more investigating, no more Ouija board. But he still continues his research and filming. And yeah, she doesn't say much. She even lets him do his experiment with the baby powder to catch footprints. And yes, I did notice that the footprints look, it's like the three-toed, whatever the hell it is. And she even says, this is the last straw. Once you've had that, I'm having mine. We're calling the demonologist. So, and even when she has her breakdown, and it's just like, I need this to happen. I want this to be resolved. This is the only way we can. I want to help it my way. He pulls the whole macho, like, no, this is my house. You're my girl. I'll solve the problem. No one else comes into my house. It's just, I get there's overly macho guys out there, but or even with like fixing shit around the house, it's just like, no, I'll do it. But this seems to be like serious shit that you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Clearly you made it worse. Your dick isn't gonna lose any inches if someone else comes in to help your collective problem, not just hers. So I don't know, I just didn't find the boyfriend to be entirely likable or able to root for him that much. And then the most common thing with these haunted house films, people say, why don't they just move? Like, why don't they just leave? Because apparently, whenever they want to move, they just kind of pack their bags and there's a house waiting for them somewhere. I guess moving isn't that difficult. But here, that also in The Conjuring, they explain that, well, they don't really explain that spirits can follow you, but with the character of Katie, she says how she's kind of been followed her whole life. Like, when she was 8, she had some experiences, and the house caught on fire. And then sporadically from when she was 13 on, some stuff kept coming back. So, it is her, it's not the house. So, I mean, the film has some good ideas. Just, I thought the film, I wouldn't really say it dragged. I wouldn't say it dragged. It wasn't, it's not like it was, like, mind-numbingly boring. And I would say that when things did happen, they weren't absolutely insane, like Grave Encounters 2, where you just have that loose door in the middle of the room that you can walk around, toss shit over. Yet when you open it, it goes outside. Or like the guy in the bathtub. Like, light on, there's no water. Light off, it's full of water. He gets pulled into it, but then he's gone. It doesn't have shit like that. The shit that happens is a little more believable. Even with the Ouija board catching on fire and her getting dragged down the hall. Okay, I'll give it that. I guess I can, this would be the best of the series that I've seen. I really don't care to see the whole series. I don't. And this really is the epitome of just what I'm tired with in horror. Have been tired with for over a decade. Not just found footage. Even ones that aren't found footage. With the exception of Insidious and The Conjuring. Because those are actually good films. I'm tired of paranormal. I'm tired of supernatural. Just, for all of, if not most of the 2010s, that's like all we had for horror movies. Unless you go into the independents and you find something there, but theatrically, mostly, that's what we had. And yeah, I'm not a fan. I actually call these, I used to call these a slew, like paranormal fucktivity, paranormal fuck my ass-tivity. Lately, I've just been calling it paranormal ass-tivity. Which I know isn't that original. But yeah, there's 6 films out already. We have 1 through 4. 5 is the marked ones, which I think is the one. It's the one they wanted to call a spin-off, but it has more to do with the main series than it does the 4th one. The Ghost Dimension was the latest, but apparently a 7th one is in production. It's going to be released next year, supposed to be this year. Can't say I'm excited for that because I don't plan on getting caught up by then. I guess it's just one of those things, and it has nothing to do with me. Like, I'm not jaded towards it. But, like, I could have just not liked this movie. I could have just not enjoyed it. But when I see how popular it is, and just how much people like it, I'm not going to try to change anyone's minds or take it away from them. And I'm sure everyone has something of that. There's just something they don't like, but it's really loved by a lot of people. And when it gets praise, it just makes you dislike it even more. Whatever it might be. Everyone has one of those. But yeah. And I do enjoy Blair Witch a lot more. Rec 1 and 2 a lot more. And yes, I know Rec 2 has a similar bathtub scene to Grave Encounters 2. I even like Quarantine more. I would even say I enjoyed The Gallows more than this. And that was a stupid movie. Maybe I'm just not... again, I don't really count Cannibal Holocaust, but I love Cannibal Holocaust. Maybe I'm just not really into found footage in general. There's more that I dislike than like... I mean, there's Paranormal Activity name, the whole series. Even the little of it that I've seen. And also, back to my Saw point. People that say all the Saw movies are the same. It doesn't tell... There's no plot or story, just torture. I'm like, well, really? What? Which was the worst one? They're like, oh, I stopped watching after 2 or 3. So, yeah, those people can't give me fucking shit for not seeing the whole series. But it really does seem like, you know, you have... Yeah, there's horror fans that like both, but it really seems like you have your Saw fans and your Paranormal Activity, and they both dislike each other for the exact same reasons. That's not to be taken away from this. That's just a side note. But yeah. Paranormal Activity, if you ever want to know what I really dislike in horror, especially in more recent years, this is it. This is the crown jewel. I don't get why this is popular. I don't get why similar movies are popular and beloved. And especially really ones that... Because after this, found footage was almost nonstop. It was fucking everywhere. And the only found footage possession film I really like, and I don't even love it, I just thought it was okay, would have been Deborah Logan. But we've gone past found footage now. We're now into, like, I guess it could be called POV horror, if that. Like the Unfriended, you know, like the Skype, Snapchat, you know, the screen horror, the phone and laptop screen where that's all we see, which is like a step beyond found footage. Those are terrible too. Like Unfriended, I was just like, this is fuck, wow. Or the new Truth or Dare, or I know there's more, but I talked about this longer than I wanted to. Paranormal Activity, I'm not a fan of at all, or even any films like it. So there you have it. Paranormal Activity. Thank you for watching.